Iran allowed to collect billions of dollars in sanctions relief without meeting the terms of last year's nuclear deal. That's according to a new report from the Institute for Science and International Security, which says the U.S. and world powers created loopholes, allowing Iran to exceed limits of the amount of low-enriched uranium it could keep. The Obama administration today denying that it loosened restrictions. The latest allegations come as a new Fox News poll shows 54% of voters say the Iranian nuclear deal has made the United States less safe. Joining me right now, General Jack Keane, a retired four-star general, chairman of the Institute for the Study of War and a Fox News military analyst. General, welcome. Always good to see you, sir.
Good to see you, Trish.
What do you think of that? I mean, the majority of Americans, more than 50% now, think that we are less safe as a result of this deal with Iran. Do you agree?
Oh, yeah. The American people got this just about perfect. The reality is the Obama administration went into this nuclear deal to make the deal at all costs. That was the centerpiece of his foreign policy. It was not security and stability in the Middle East, which should have been the end state. And the irony of it is, you mentioned the loopholes in the introduction. Mm-hmm. That certainly is a stunning revelation, but it doesn't surprise us because every single time that the United States set a condition, Trish, that the Iranians objected to, we conceded that condition. And that's how we wind up with a deal. Remember, the purpose of the nuclear deal was to prevent the Iranians from ever having a nuclear weapon. Mm-hmm. But the deal, ironically, permits the Iranians to have a nuclear weapon in 15 years. That is the absurdity of this thing. No wonder the American people are fed up and know that the security and stability of the Middle East is more dangerous, and therefore our security is affected as well.
General, why do you think it was and is so important to President Obama that we have this relationship with Iran?
I think it's an interesting question, and we can only speculate about it, but I've talked to a few people about it, and who are, close to the administration, and they believe from early on President Obama saw himself out on the diplomatic edge of U.S. foreign policy, and he wanted to achieve something that Nixon achieved with China, a breakthrough. So he wanted a rapprochement, if you will, with the Iranians. And that began early in his administration in 2009 with letters to the supreme leader seeking discussions on a nuclear deal. So this became the centerpiece of his foreign policy. It became a strategic objective for him, and it trumped everything else that he was doing in terms of the lousy decisions he made on Iraq, lousy decisions he made on Syria, because he wanted none of this to interfere with him. It's really quite stunning how this drove him so much for 8 years.
Well, look, I come from a business and economics background. I can tell you any CEO would advise you that you can't be too invested in a deal, because if you are, the other side's going to get the better end of that agreement. And it sounds like you believe, and many believe, that this president was way too invested in this so-called deal with Iran, that he, in fact, may have been blinded by it.
Oh, yeah, he absolutely is. And it's really sad commentary, because not only is the Middle East going to be more unsafe and less stable as a result, but look at what has happened in Syria when we had opportunities many times over to turn that war around to our favor. But he refused to do that because he did not want to get the ire of the Iranians, who he was negotiating with every single day on that nuclear deal.
Gosh, it's really tragic. How's this going to affect his legacy, you think?
Well, I think this really will come through as a negative aspect of the president's foreign policy, that he was so obsessed with this that it really endangered the United States. And clearly, every ally that we have in the region believes that the United States has walked away from, and the Middle East is much more dangerous than it was 8 years ago.
Yeah, it's going to take a lot of fixing. General Jack Keane, thank you so much. Good to see you tonight.
Yeah, good talking to you, Trish.